What's going on, guys? This is an interview for one of my athletes, Drew Orzechowski, and this is for his class. This is an economics class, so really pumped to do this for you guys. And if you guys want me to come to your school and do a Q&A with you guys or do some guest speaking, say the word. I did take an economics class in high school, and none of these things were spoken about. Then again, that was 1992 and 1993. And back then, this internet stuff obviously did not exist. And the movie Total Recall was out by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we saw people talking with one another on phones with screens, and it was on Mars. And I remember saying, damn, it's I don't know when that's going to happen on Earth, but ironically, here we are. So let's crush these questions for you guys, and apologize for my voice, but this is the kind of sore throat you get when you're coaching athletes. All right, here we go, Drew and class. Where did your entrepreneurship come from, and why did you choose to have a sole proprietorship? So my entrepreneurship came from a couple of things. Um, I was always into training since age 13. And once I started training, I actually became like the neighborhood strength coach. All the other kids in the neighborhood were coming to me for workout advice. A lot of kids in my same grade were coming to me to work for workout advice. And I was always writing workouts for them on pieces of paper, in notebooks, and I really couldn't stop. Every book in school had a bodybuilding magazine shoved somewhere in the middle of it. So I was always reading about bodybuilding and strength training and coming up with ways to help other people, except I never monetized it. In fact, when I got a little bit older, in my late teens, maybe age 19, age 20, maybe 21, I was helping out a lot of people at the gym, and I would spend all day at the gym taking guys through workouts, taking my friends through workouts, and I'll never forget going home one day, and my dad says to me at the end of the night, he goes, "Where were you all day?" I said, "I'm at the gym. I'm training people. I've been training people all day." He's like, "Wow, did you get paid?" I said, "No, I love this stuff. I'll do it for free." And then he said, "You're a," I won't use the word since this is in class. He said, "You are a crappy businessman." So I always laugh at that story. And really, what set me over the edge was in my mid 20s. I was a health and physical education teacher. I was finishing up graduate school. I may have been about 25, maybe 26. And I was a fifth year teacher, and I was working at a middle school. I'd spent the 4 years before that at the elementary school. And I was involved after being a high school wrestler and a wrestling coach. I was involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and starting to get into mixed martial arts. And I started getting a lot of injuries. And then finally, I had a very serious injury where I tore my ACL and had to get surgery. And all the surgeries, I had a knee surgery before that, and all the injuries prior, all the way dating back from high school, started kind of, uh, you know, creating this burning desire inside of me to help other wrestlers specifically, not just athletes, but really wrestlers to avoid going through the pain that I went through. And I was tired of getting injured when I was training so hard. And I questioned, why am I so strong and why do I look so buff and so big? And here I am getting injured all the time. I'm in the hospital, and I'm going to have to go through like a very serious 6 months of rehab after my ACL surgery. So I decided that I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to commit to helping wrestlers, and I'm going to research the best ways to train wrestlers, and I'm going to share my message with the world and help other people. I didn't know anything about business at all. But as soon as I got home from knee surgery, I remember going on the internet. Google, I don't even think was out. It was like Yahoo and Dogpile was the name of the search engine. So you type something in, and you'd click the Go Fetch button, and it would get you results. And I started researching the best ways to train wrestlers, and also researching how other wrestlers trained in very notable areas such as Pennsylvania, Ohio, Iowa, Minnesota. Those were the powerhouse wrestling areas, and I wanted to find out how they trained. Um, and little by little, just doing research, not just on the training, but I started researching how to become a coach, or how to be a personal trainer. The word strength and conditioning coach was very new at the time. And I started coming across this one guy. His name was Ryan Lee, still has a website, ryanlee.com. And he was doing all business information, marketing information for coaches to help them turn their passion into profits, because most coaches were essentially waking up, training people at 5 or 6 a.m., and then they spent their entire day training people and wouldn't get home until 8 o'clock, 9 p.m. So it was all day, and they had a very high rate of burnout. And I didn't want to do that. And I was also a teacher. I loved teaching. And through the days, the weeks, the months, the years, I just constantly invested in my education to learn how to really utilize my information and share it with the world. So I did all the things that I learned in this one business course that Ryan Lee sold, and it changed my life. It was a $97 course, and it was a 3-ring binder with a bunch of CDs, a bunch of action steps. It had like lesson plans in there. And I popped the CD in my stereo, and every time it said, buy a website, do this, do this, do this, like, do action step 1, action step 2, I would pause the stereo and I would take action. And that was something I learned through my commitment in sports, my commitment to bodybuilding, my commitment to fitness. So I eventually incorporated my business. It was an LLC. I didn't really know much about that. I had done some research on the internet, and they said if you're just your own person, get an LLC. I wasn't sure what was the right thing or not. I did the LLC. I registered it online. I didn't even know what business name to come up with, so I just called it Zach Evanesh Performance Systems, because I heard that you could change the name of your business and use a DBA, which is a doing business as. So after researching and just constantly taking action, I had created a website. I was constantly writing articles. Drew's brother was one of the first athletes, one of the first wrestlers to start training with me, and he learned about me through these articles I would write for a wrestling newsletter that would physically get sent to every competitive wrestler's home in New Jersey. It was called USA Wrestling New Jersey. And wrestlers and coaches were finding out about me through that. It was a really powerful way. The internet wasn't so crowded with a million and one things. There was no YouTube, no Facebook. There was no social. There were some social networks. There were forums, but nothing like what it is now. It was very hard to communicate and connect with people. So through the years, my business evolved from training people out of my parents' garage and backyard. Then I bought my first house. We revamped the 2-car garage. That's where Drew's brother started training. Spent about 3, maybe even 4 years training out of the garage while I was a teacher. And eventually, I was so passionate. I was constantly trying to help the school district I worked for. I wanted them to utilize my expertise in strength and conditioning to help the high school athletes. And it was constantly brushed off, constantly brushed off. And it was really disappointing to me. And when I saw how it would hurt the kids because they weren't strong, they weren't fast, they weren't tough, they just didn't have, they didn't even have a good strength and conditioning program. I wouldn't even call it average. It was, teeter-tottering on horrible to somewhat okay. And it really bothered me that I got into teaching to help the kids, and that the administration in the school district I worked for was not all about the kids. And my business continued to grow because I did so much work. I did a lot of stuff online. I constantly put myself out there. I spoke at seminars. I was very passionate, and I think people really connected to my passion. And eventually, my income through running a part-time biz far exceeded my income as a full-time teacher. And the thing that hit home to me was two things. One, what I just mentioned, feeling there was all this red tape not allowing me to help the kids. And that's what I've always been about, is helping the kids. And when they kept denying it, it showed me that they truly didn't care about the kids. And in my heart, I felt I couldn't work in a town that, that I don't know, in a town that truly did not stand for the kids. So I left, excuse me, and just did it all on my own. I actually took a leave of absence for a year, and then a year later, I resigned from teaching. But I still consider myself a teacher. And so that was a big part of me. And number two, a big part that motivated me was that I was a father and a husband. And at the time, my daughter was maybe 3 years old, and my son was just born. And I actually had a like recurring nightmare that they would ask me for advice in life about doing something, about trying to do something and achieve something great. And I would try to give them the advice, and then they would yell back at me and say, "What did you ever do? You grew up in this town. You live in this town forever. You got a job in this town. You never dared to do anything great or be adventurous." And that nightmare motivated me so big to just say, I'm going to go for it. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen to me? I'll get a teaching job somewhere else. I said to myself, but I actually didn't think like that. I wasn't thinking, oh, I'll have to get a teaching job. I was like, there's no way I'm not going to succeed. I'm going to crush this, and I'm only going to get that much more successful. So it motivated me big time as an entrepreneur. What are the advantages, is the next question, or disadvantages as they pertain to management, capital, risk, liability, inventory, government regulations, and taxation? And would you do it again? Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. So I can see you guys are like reading about all these fancy terms and all this stuff. I'll tell you this. I am in a tax bracket where I get crushed. I get crushed really bad. But rather than complain about it, I just say, so what? I'm going to focus on helping more people, spreading the word more, and changing more lives. Whenever I do something, that's what I focus on. I say, this product, this time that I spend at the gym, this gym, every action I do, it has to be about changing lives. It's not, how can I help this person? To me, that's not deep enough. That's not inspiring enough. That's not passionate enough. I look at how I could change somebody's life. For example, Drew and his brother. You know, I'll start with his brother. His brother began training with us senior year in high school. He became so inspired through the work ethic. It transformed him. He had a memorable year that he will never forget. He took seventh in the state. He didn't lose one wrestling match until he got to Atlantic City. He was a district, county, and regional champ. He was, I think, also like an academic honor student, and now he's a special ed teacher. He is a strength coach at our gym, and he's also a volunteer coach in the school district he works for strength and conditioning. And his life not revolves, but very much is influenced, and a huge part is about fitness, nutrition, health, being mentally tough, and I feel it has changed his life. Same thing with Drew. Him and his buddy, Mike Skibb, started training with us. They've both gotten extremely strong. They've learned a lot of things, not just about the physical side, but about what it is up here. Drew became an All-American with his relay team. There's just a lot of things that I don't think would have been possible or would have been a further stretch for these boys if they didn't train with us. His friend became a national champ in the 50-meter butterfly, and that is a life-changing, most memorable event. And when he came to us, I remember him saying, he's like, well, I don't really work that hard, and I think I'm a little bit lazy. And we really changed his work ethic, and I'm really pumped to see how myself and my team were part of that. Now, with all these words, taxation, management, liability, this is all part of, being a coach. The toughest part is management. I'm not really a kind of guy that likes to manage anybody. I want people to manage themselves, and that's essentially how I try to train my coaches and my team. is that I want them to be self-thinkers and to be self-doers and to be go-getters. Meaning, if you see that the floor is dirty, vacuum it. Don't wait for somebody to tell you to do it. If you feel like there's a certain weak area in your training, then study that training information to get better at it. Come and spend more time with me at the gym to improve yourself. I want them to do that stuff on their own. I don't work that great, with a team trying to manage people. I work better building things up. But I can't be in two places at the same time. And a lot of times, not all the time, but many times, in order to grow a business, you need a team. A team works best when you have people that are complementary, meaning these are my strong points. Let me bring somebody in to manage my weak points. Tough thing is right now, everybody that's there is coaches. I right now run two different locations, so we have coaches. I also have an assistant that helps me with basically all my online stuff. She handles all the technology because that's a weak area for me. I'm not a very tech savvy entrepreneur, although I know how to use all of the social media avenues and I do a lot of work. I don't know how to build websites. I don't know how to do that stuff. So that is my assistant's expertise. That's easy for her the way it's easy for me to write a training program for an athlete. So management is almost like a necessary evil when you're trying to grow a business. Inventory, that's a great question. I used to sell products on the internet that were physical, meaning books, CDs, DVDs. Then at the end of every month, and I would get an invoice, and that bill would be quite high. And as technology grew, and now everybody's got one of these, right? Everybody's got a smartphone. People love downloadable products. So I no longer sell physical products. Everything is downloadable. So there's no overhead for me minus the bill that there is overhead with the credit card transaction fees, storing files online when people play or purchase those videos or documents. You get a little bit of a charge, but nothing like what it was with the physical book. And also now you could outsource into Amazon for people to create your product, to create your book for you, and they just pull that out of your I guess your gross profit, and then you get your net. They pull out any of that overhead for you, so it makes it much easier. I never stored inventory and I never shipped stuff on my own. So when people were buying my books, it went to a fulfillment company. So somebody would purchase something, an email would go to that company, and that company would fulfill my order. They would take care of shipping. So I like to keep things, this is a very important thing I like to do with my business. Low hassle, high profit. If it gives me a headache, if it's really something that stresses me out and adds negative energy, I cut it out from my business. And that includes, people at my gym. Sometimes we kick out kids from the gym because the parents are rude or the kid is lazy. Government regulations. Well, I think it's very interesting how people can collect unemployment, and people like myself who bust my butt, we get taxed heavier for these things. So I'm not a fan of the way all the tax stuff works, but it is just unfortunately the way the government works, and you have to have a very good accountant. That's the ticket, who helps you write off all the right things, because there's tons of things that are legitimate write-offs that if you have a bad accountant who doesn't pinpoint those things, you can lose a ton of money. So it's very important to be smart with your money. That's number one. One thing I like to say is, like, I don't like to use credit cards. Very important to just pay with cash. Get rid of all debt. When I was like my fifth year teacher before I got into the business, I was heavily in debt, had something like 25, 26 grand in debt. And I really had to learn how to manage my money. And a great book that inspired me to how to do that was Gene Simmons from the rock and roll band Kiss. And his book is called Sex, Money, Kiss. And it's really all about how he was a very savvy businessman, very smart, while all of his bandmates were really just burning money. They were flushing money down the toilet, losing money. He leveraged everything. He was extremely smart, and I leverage a lot of things with my business. Capital, how did I come up with the money? Well, back when I started, today you could purchase gym equipment for very cheap. Back then it wasn't available. There weren't all these companies making cheap gym equipment that was also high quality. Back then what I did was I purchased all of my equipment from eBay. Craigslist was not out yet. I was using eBay and classified ads in the newspaper. So other gyms that were going out of business or personal training studios, I was purchasing their equipment at a very cheap amount of money. And that's how I basically started. I always told the coaches that I help, I say, live off of nuts and berries. Don't be all fancy about it again. The question is, would I do it again? I would do it again. And my business will definitely come full circle. Right now, being a strength coach is seen very much as a commodity. There's people opening gyms around every corner, and it's very important to understand marketing so parents could understand, or people could understand, because we train a lot of athletes, so their parents see our website, who is the best. And if all they're doing is comparing prices, then you don't understand how to market yourself and show them how much better you are. So we showcase our success stories and our results big time, because that is the differentiating factor. Our gym might not be the prettiest or the fanciest, but our results far, far exceed what anybody else is achieving. And that's what allows us to be the best, or that's why we are the best. And that's what allows us to charge a premium price for our membership, because we are not just another face in the crowd. So if you're going to run a business, I will leave you guys with this. You must find a way to develop to showcase and deliver incredible results. Number one, and number two, you must be different in as many ways as possible. So I'll leave you guys with that. How can you be different? And you must be awesome at what you do. You must go beyond greatness. Constantly pursue excellence. Good is not good enough in today's day and age. And here's the other thing: you must care. So whether you are a entrepreneur or you're an employee of someplace, put all your heart into it. And that's the ticket. I always did that as a teacher. I put all my heart into every single class. Same thing when I'm a coach. Give it all your heart. And for you guys, as students, you should put your heart into everything. Everything that you do, you should strive to be the best that you could be. That is what's going to get you to the top in this world. And business is tough. It requires thick skin and mental toughness. You have to overcome many obstacles, but you must keep getting up and do it a little bit differently and a little bit better. I hope this helps you guys at your class. And if you'd like me to come in to do a Q&A with you, by all means, have your teacher reach out to me. Drew has my email, and good luck to you guys. Peace.